ago, I realized Ves most likely would pass away before I would because he was older than I was. And so I tried to figure out a way to celebrate his life that he would enjoy. And this is what I came up with. And Judy has helped put all this together. And I think we both think he's here.
Oh, I believe he's here right now, personally.
And enjoying it. So what we want you to do is to make him feel at home by telling stories about your life. Because we know there's a lot of Ves stories out there that will help all of us to enjoy his life. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Judy, and then we're going to open it up to you, and we'll just get this started.
I wasn't quite expecting to have as large a group, and I'm thrilled to have so many people here, especially because of the age that passes away. And so there's people who have known Ves for many, many, many years, and family, and I haven't seen some family, like Tim and Luann, for a long time. And I'm really glad to see all of you here, different ages especially. And so I really would love to hear some things, because I had the first 15 years of Ves's life as a married person, I should say. And I'm looking at pictures of Fran and her children and my children all in this family, and it's such a lovely feeling to see this great family. And people say, you're getting together with your husband's second wife? And I'm saying, yes, because I think she's a great person, and I really think sometimes Ves was very lucky. He really was to have some great people. Really lucky, and we both have said over the years, Fran said to me, Judy, if I was the first one, I would have had to deal with the same things, probably in the same way. And I said, I think, Fran, you had the hardest part. Anyway, don't have to argue. No, okay. But anyway, we really are happy to have you all here. And I wanted to tell you how we met. I was supposed to be on a date with somebody else, and somebody didn't show up, and somebody fixed me up at the last minute. I don't even know if it was Bill Bisak. Bill, was that you that fixed us up? Bill has known Ves since high school, since college, since the Army, and he was our best man at our wedding. So we'll look at some pictures, and you'll see Bill and his wife Nancy here. I've known him for a long time. Did you fix us up? I can't remember who did that.
Yes, you remember Pat Gray?
Pardon?
Remember a girl named Patty Gray?
Of course, she was my neighbor and one of my dearest friends.
I was dating her, and
I forgot that. See, my memory isn't as great as I thought.
Hey, Ves, I got this girl.
So you're the one.
Yeah.
You are the one. Interesting, isn't it? We owe him a lot.
Yes.
Because the best thing about being married to Ves was Mike and Patty, and I wanted, if you don't know them, I wanted you to meet them. Here's Patty, just wave, you don't have to stand up, there's Patty. And Mike, where are you, Mike? Where's Mike? My eyes are terrible right now.
You had cataract surgery, didn't you?
Oh, cataract, and my glasses were blind when I agreed to do the music, and now they're so bad, I pray I got home tonight, really. It's pretty bad.
So, okay, and then it's like we're introducing children, and when Ves married me, and I have to tell you the story about this. Ves has always told the story that he picked up this South Omaha boa and turned her into a college professor, trying to indicate that he was so much smarter.
Oh, yes.
And so I always, when he said that, I came back always and said, well, who is the smarter person? The person who marries a person with 2 children, or the person who marries a So, anyway, this is my oldest son, Steve. Yeah. And then Scott is there in the back. And Judy is here, and Jones. So that's the 6 children, and we now have 12 we had originally 12 grandchildren, now we have 19 grandchildren and 2 great-grandchildren, thanks to Judy and Joan and their second marriages. We appreciate that. Okay, now, who wants to start? Anybody want to start? Telling stories about this? Yes, there's somebody who can tell a story. Judy and Dave Bolo.
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen these pictures? You've seen that picture of him golfing with this horrible stork-like stance? Well, that picture was taken by Judy Bolo. You want to tell them about that?
Well, Ves actually got a hole in one. I think it was due to Providence and God, not to his ability. But that picture was taken because we had, I wanted to people to make fun of him. And he thought, well, if you take that picture and publish it, people are going to make fun of me. And I said, that's the idea. And so I threatened to put it on a billboard by Paxton Mitchell, but he threatened to sue me, so I didn't. But he was kind of my big brother I never had. And I know the kids kind of wondered what our relationship was. Judy did at one time. I can remember that. And it was just, I could take my aggressions out on Ves, and he'd think I was kidding. But I meant it. So he was my buddy, so we miss him.
Thanks, Judy. Okay, all right.
Okay, I'm Fran's sister, her only sister and favorite one. Anyway, and this is my husband Paul. We live on a farm up by West Point. Well, anyhow, we came from one of the original Catholic families in the world, and my mother was the original Catholic. Nothing was done out of the ordinary. So when Fran decides to get married second time after divorce, my folks were less than pleased. They came to me for help. Should they go to the wedding? Could they go to the... Anyhow, they were all very concerned about it, and they weren't sure that this was right. They ended up loving Ves so much. He did so much for them. They just absolutely adored him. So he was quite a guy.
He was. Eddie, you had your hand up. This is my brother, Eddie.
I'm the little one, the young one.
He's the youngest.
The spoiled one.
Oh, definitely the spoiled.
Well, Judy thinks I was a nice kid. Well,
she didn't know you.
Anyway, anytime I call my sister when she moved out of town, I call her up, but that's always answering the phone. And no matter what, his first thing out of his mouth was, I hate Obama. I said, okay, Ves, I understand that. And he just, every time I call, he tell me how much he disliked him, he's a Muslim, he's this, he's that. And then I get 10 emails a day. I didn't know what to do with all these emails. So anyway, that's his story of Ves. And he was always a very nice man, very nice to me. And my wife is my wife, Mary Lou. And Mary Lou and I have been married about 44 years now, so we've around and been a few times too, like you guys. So Ves is always nice. He liked to smoke meat, I know that. He used to just love to cook, especially on Christmas and Thanksgiving. That was his time to shine, I guess. But that's my story, and I'm keeping to it.
I want to say something about the cooking. Remember, I'm the one that had the first 15 years. So you're a new bride and you like to cook. In our family, you don't exist if you don't like to cook. And we're from the old school and the old country and all of these, because I'm a Bohunk too. So it's like, Bohunk or Hungarian, all of those things. So I put together something that I think he's going to eat. I make scalloped potatoes and ham. He eats both of those things. But in my family, we put them together in a casserole dish, and they cook together, and you add a little onion, and a little cheese, and milk, and all this stuff. He wouldn't eat it. I was so upset because the two things were touching each other. They were together in the same dish. That is one of the only times that I've ever thrown food. I took this bowl, this pot that I cooked it in, and I threw it. I was so mad because eating was the biggest issue, one of the biggest issues we had. Because when he was about this high, his mother, according to Faye, his mom, said to me, I was so tired of trying to fix things for him that he was eating. I finally said, just go cook it yourself. And so he knew how to cook everything. I could not sneak things by him, no matter how hard I tried. So we cooked a meal for Ves. We cooked a meal that I could eat, and then when the kids are little, with little kids, you cook some things differently. So we had 3 different meals going on, usually at every time you sat down at the table.
She handled it a lot differently.
Yes, I threw
because
things.
when Ves turned his nose up at the first thing I baked for him, I didn't throw it at him. I just told him, okay, then you do all the cooking, which he did for the rest of the day.
But I have to tell you one other story, and then I'm going to let the rest of you talk about the food issue. We had a lot of family in California, and Ves wasn't one who liked to travel, and I finally talked him into taking the kids, and we went to visit my Aunt Vern. And in our house, we came from Chicago and back east, and if you did that, having company, you had leg of lamb. This was the epitome of thing. It was expensive, and that's what you did. So she fixed leg of lamb, and she told me that when I walked in the door, and I thought, oh my gosh, he is not going to eat this. He would only eat a couple of things, and lamb was not on the list. So I'm not going to tell him. He sat down, he thought this was delicious. Had a little mint jelly with it, you know, had a little gravy. He ate it until he was done, just about a couple bites, and I said, you know, Ves, I couldn't resist. I said, you've been eating lamb all evening. Oh, he got up from the table, he was so mad he went into the bathroom and threw up. Food was one of our biggest issues that we always had, but I laughed for years over the lamb story. Our whole family did, in fact, so. Okay, I'm done with that, food.
Good.
Okay.
I mean, not good you're done, but good, that's good. That was a good story. All right, Carmen.
I got a few little stories I wrote down. Okay. I've known Ves since 1953.
Talk loud.
Louder.
We were looking
Do
for
this.
a microphone.
I've known Ves since 1953. He was a fraternity brother of my husband, Jim. During our college years, we would occasionally double date with Ves and his date. Jim and I married in 1956, and Ves was in the service at that time, I believe. During the early 60s, after Ves was married to Judy, we would play bridge with them often and had so much fun. Ves always had to have his 12th beer before he would quit playing cards. The rest of us would almost be snoring by that time. One time, Ves and Judy and Jim and I and the kids, plus lots of other people, went boating to a place close to Topeka. Well, Ves had taken everyone but myself and my kids and Judy out, and we went boating. Since I have been around the guys so long, I really didn't always believe them, as they loved to always tease us gals. All at once, Ves said, "I'm really worried." Of course, we are out in the middle of this big lake, and it was so far to get to either side. Then the motor went out, and Ves said the boat was filling up with water. By then, he was rowing. I looked down, and he wasn't kidding. We were filling up with water. I said, "Ves, I know how to row. You take off your shoes and start dumping water, and I'll get us to land." So we got to the land, but didn't know if we were on an island or if the land was all connected. It was so hot, and we all got so sunburned. Ves decided to check out to see where we were. We kept yelling for help as the boats passed by, but they just thought we were yelling hi instead of help. Ves finally found that the land was connected and went back to the camp and went straight to his tent and went to bed. Finally, Jim and Bill Van Dusen went in and said, "Where's Carmen and the kids and Judy?" He then told them the story. So many hours later, they came with the patrol people on a boat and got us. Even Bill was so worried about us, and he was terrified of water. But he took the boat ride, and we were saved. Praise the Lord. That night, Bill overcame his fear of water. Every time the guys went fishing, there was something awful that would happen. Ves was driving the boat, and the guys were doing the fishing. All at once, they looked at Ves, and he was sound asleep while driving. No wonder we wives ended up becoming praying women. All their trips were like this. I have to say that Ves was a true and loyal friend all these years. And friend, you've been too. Ves brought pizza every 2 weeks over to our house as Jim was sick for many years. Duke and Marge, Bill Fedderson came also, and Fran. Ves and Fran helped us move, which was a blessing and a big job. Then they moved out of town. 3 weeks before Jim died, Ves came back and stayed with us so he could not only be with Jim, but all his other buddies like Kermit and Bernie and others I didn't know. He loved us all, and Ves, we loved you too. And thank you for your faithfulness and loyalty. Love you, Carmen.
Very nice. I know there's more Ves stories out there. I have one.
Okay, well, one. I have a couple, but Fran and Ves and I used to go to the movies every week when I think it was after I was done with college, but every week we would go, and we had to, of course, go according to what Ves wanted to see. Fran and I could never pick. And more than that, we had to go not just by one that you wanted to see by, it had to be in a certain theater, based on the theater that had the best popcorn. So he would look at that list, he'd pick the movie, we'd meet out there. We'd get to the theater.